What's up everyone? Darkside Phil here, and welcome to another edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, where you'll get maximum truth, minimum bullshit regarding the game that I'm talking about. Again, I'm independent. I don't work for anyone. I don't get paid off to do this kind of stuff, and therefore I can give my honest reviews on games. And today is another semi kind of unique review, because I get to review a game that is a portable game, a handheld game, and it's a game for the Nintendo 3DS, and it's probably the most staple game of all of them, meaning the one that if you really were going to just buy a 3DS, what's the first game you buy with it? Of course, Super Mario 3D Land. And I recently had the pleasure of completing this game. And when I say completing this game, I mean completely completing this game from start to finish. If you don't know what I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that in the review, okay? But Super Mario 3D Land, the staple Mario game, and for every single system that's ever come out from Nintendo, they have the staple Mario game. And so, the first thing you say is, what is it? Is it like New Super Mario Brothers, but with 3D? And the answer is, yeah, but no. It is kind of like that, but there's also a lot of uniqueness about the game as well. So let's talk a little bit about it. Super Mario 3D Land. You start out as Mario. Guess what? The princess got kidnapped. No shit. You know? I mean, how many Mario games have there been? That is the plot. Ever since Super Mario, since Super Mario 3, I mean Super Mario 1 and 3, keep in mind Super Mario Brothers 2 in the United States actually was not the real Super Mario Brothers 2. It was called Doki Doki Panic in Japan, completely unrelated game, and that's why the plot is so different in that game. But regardless, I digress. This game is the typical Mario fare of what you would expect. And you will have some stages that play very similarly to classic Mario. So it's going to be 2D side-scrolling. For the most part, you're just very linear. There are other stages that will play very similarly to Mario 64, meaning almost like a third-person top-down view. You have free roam over the course, and you know, it's like that 3D perspective. But there are other stages that are pretty unique where you move everywhere. So I would say those are probably more similar to maybe Super Mario Galaxy, I guess. And I kind of say that out of my ass because I never played the Super Mario Galaxy games, simply because I didn't have a Wii during the time when those games were out, and so I kind of missed out on them. But yeah, it seems like it's an open area where you can move left, right, up, down. You know, sometimes elevation going up and down this way. So it's like a completely 3D, three-dimensional area, and the stage can do whatever it wants, okay? And as typical Mario fare as you would think, there are 8 worlds, primarily when the game starts, each of which consists between about 5 to 6 different stages. Usually there's 3 to 4 regular stages, and then there are some unlockable stages, and then there's the final boss stage. And the way that this works is, as you're playing the game, you're going to be gathering special coins. And these special coins have been around ever since Super Mario World, okay? And the more special coins that you collect, they add up in a total, and they actually allow you to unlock stages that previously you couldn't play. They're just like kind of completely locked until you accumulate enough coins that this stage will open up for you. And in those stages you can get even more coins, okay? So you're doing that. Each stage has 3 hidden coins that you're trying to get. Also, when you actually beat the stage, just like in old school Super Mario games, the end of every stage has a flag. And what you need to do is jump and try to land at the top of the flag. If you land at the top of the flag, you get a 1-up, but also that's kept track of, and you get a gold, it's called the golden flag, so you know that you've basically got the top of the flag on that stage. Stages range from a wide variety of Mario fare, from all over the place, from the traditional, you know, green grass, kind of green pipes hitting the question mark blocks, fighting Goombas and Koopa Troopas, to underwater stages where you're swimming around in a 3D perspective, and you know, you're fighting the Cheep Cheeps and such, to aerial stages where you're platforming and you really have to survive or not fall off the platform, or there's instant death looming, okay? There are occasionally strewn throughout the Mushroom Kingdom, there are mushroom houses similar to Super Mario Brothers 3, where if you need a power-up, whether it's a mushroom to make you big, a Tanuki suit, that's one of the things that they brought back for this game, is the Tanuki suit instead of the feather from Super Mario Brothers 3, even though it's very similar to that, where you become like a raccoon and you can fly. In this game you can't fly, by the way. That is something to note. I thought you could, just like in Super Mario Brothers 3. You cannot, but what you can do is you can hover. It allows you to jump high and then hover slowly as you go to the ground. You've got the fire flower, so you can throw fireballs. You've also got a new addition, which is the boomerang suit, which basically allows you to throw boomerangs that are very powerful, and they actually can take out enemies, especially if you're aiming at them, or you can actually grab far off coins. There are actually a couple of stages where if you have the boomerang suit, you can use the boomerang to grab one of the special coins that otherwise would be very hard to touch, okay? There's also a new addition called the propeller box, which is what looks like a normal box, but when you hit it, it turns into a box with a propeller on it. And what this allows you to do is after you jump, the propeller activates and it boosts you far into the air, but then it also allows you to very slowly come down out of the sky, basically like hovering down, down, down. And so there are a lot of stages that are vertical based, where the 3D, by the way, really takes a lot of effect, because it's basically a high up area you're trying to get to the top, and you have almost a top down perspective with the camera, and you're using this propeller block to fly straight up at the camera and land on platforms and try to get to the top of this mountain or hill or whatever it is. So it is exactly what you would expect from a typical Mario game. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that Mario gameplay is classic. It's probably one of, if not the most classic console-style gameplay that there is. You know what to expect. You know what enemies you're going to be fighting. You know exactly what kind of platforming there's going to be. Okay? And so, as you're going through the Mushroom Kingdom, you'll go through ghost houses, forests, all the traditional locales that you can expect from previous Mario games. And then, usually at the end of every stage, there's a boss stage, and whether it's a castle where you are basically trying to go through Bowser's castle and avoiding lava and instant death in that regard, and trying to finally get to a showdown with Bowser at the end in a 3D perspective. It's really neat. You'll be jumping straight away from the camera. The camera will be behind you as Mario, and you'll be running straight towards Bowser, and he'll be spitting fire. And 3D, the fire will be coming at you, and you have to dodge left and right over the fireballs while still platforming and not landing in lava. It's a really neat perspective. And so your goal there is to get to Bowser and then either hit him with fireballs or boomerangs if you have those. If not, you have to try to get by him somehow. So what he'll do is he'll start spitting fireballs, and then maybe he'll jump. And you have to run under him when he jumps. And do this several times, because he'll keep trying to jump back over you and keep you from where you're going, until finally there's a switch. Hit the switch, you beat Bowser, you move on to the next stage. Of course, your princess is sorry, your princess is in another castle, and you have to go on to the next one. There are also airship stages taken straight from Super Mario Bros. 3, but now with a new added 3D perspective. And what this adds is that you're going to have multiple tiers and levels on these that was very similar to Super Mario 3, but there's some hidden stuff and things to do with the 3D. That's really neat. And sometimes you even jump from ship to ship. There'll be multiple ships, and you'll go from one to the other as... excuse me. Wow. As you're doing this, and it's really neat. Now, at the end of the ship stages, you're going to fight one of the two Koopa kids. And I'm not sure exactly which one it is. I think one of them's called, like, Morton Koopa or Charlie Koopa. Some Koopa. It's the dude who goes like this. He's always doing but in this game he doesn't do that. In this one he spins out his arms and he does like a spinning clothesline like Zangief. And what you have to do is run away from him until he gets dizzy from doing it, and then you jump on his head and hit him. Or again, if you have the boomerang or the fireball, you hit him with those until he gets knocked out. Then you've got, I believe her name is Lizzie Koopa, who is the female Koopa kid who actually has a boomerang in this game. She has the boomerang ability. And so she'll throw homing boomerangs at you, and your goal is to dodge them and jump on her head. She'll then try to fly as an invincible shell and land on you several times, which you dodge, and then eventually you jump on her head again until she dies. So that's the gist of the gameplay of the first 8 stages of the game. And then finally, obviously, there's a final showdown with Bowser in a really epic final Bowser stage. And what I can say is this: the first 8 stages are pretty easy. They're near about World 7 and 8. They do start to get a little bit difficult, but never at any time did I ever feel like, man, this game's kicking my ass and really challenging me. In fact, a lot of the times I was playing the game, I wasn't even paying attention to most of it because I was watching TV or doing something else, so I was able to pretty much tackle most of the game without any problem, okay? And I think a lot of this is because in this day and age, like, it's so easy now to accumulate extra lives, you know what I mean? Like, back in the day, you would have to find that one particular stage that you would replay over and over, and you would basically mine or grind to get extra lives so that you could beat the rest of the game. In this game, just playing it, I found many, many instances where it was very easy to get 2, 3 1-ups during a stage, and you would just come out with more lives than you went into. And so by the end of the game, I had like 70 lives accumulated, and I was never really forced during the course of the game to go back and farm more lives in order to continue. I guess I can understand why they did it, and I'm about to explain in a moment exactly why I think they did it and how I think this actually works, okay? So once you beat Bowser at the final castle, the final showdown with Bowser, and it is a very epic showdown, I don't want to spoil it, it is pretty unique, there's a lot of platforming involved, it's a really non-canonical, not standard boss fight, let's put it that way. And so when you finally beat him and you rescue the princess, the credits roll and the game's over. Or so you think, okay? Then the game throws you for a complete loop and does something I did not expect. The game opens up an additional 8 more worlds, all of which are called these special worlds. And what these worlds are basically taking the previous stages from the original 8 worlds and ramping up the difficulty. And whether that means making double the enemies, the speed's going faster, and some of these stages you start with only 30 seconds to beat the stage, and then you have to find clocks during the stage to add more time to the clock so you don't die when time runs out. Some of the stages force you to jump on enemies and kill enemies. As you kill the enemies, you get more time on the clock. There's also other stages where, for the first time ever that I've ever seen this, you have to face evil Mario. And what this is an evil clone of Mario that does exactly what you're doing, okay? He's basically like a second behind you. So if you're running and you jump to get a power-up, the Mario will follow you and run and jump exactly like you did to get the power-up. Problem being, if he touches you, you get hurt and you die. And so what you find in these stages is you constantly have to be moving. You can never stop, because if you stop, he catches up and runs right into you and hits you. So it's like someone constantly chasing you, and it completely changes the gameplay of some of these stages where when you were just playing in the first 8 worlds, I'm just going to play at my own pace and beat it. Now it's all like, holy shit, I really got to be paying attention. I have to fucking make sure he doesn't touch me. I have to think about the pattern that I run in a certain area, especially if it's a platforming area where you're waiting for a platform to come. Because if you have to kill time for that platform to come and you're waiting for it, you can't just stand still. You have to be running in circles so the Mario will still stay behind you but never touch you, okay? And it's challenging. Let me tell you this. The first few worlds of the special world are probably easy, but I'd say about halfway through, once you get to world 4 or 5, the challenge really starts to ramp up, and it gets harder and harder and harder. Just to add to the challenge of these stages, it's not like if you were just trying to survive in some of these stages, they'd be difficult. But then what the game does is, what you realize is you can only continue to play the game and get to the further special stages by accumulating those special coins that we talked about before. And it actually turns out that you need to collect almost all of them in the game in order to beat the special world. So you're going to end up going backtracking, and trying to get all the special coins that you didn't get, which leads to a lot more added challenge. And what I actually started doing is, as I was playing the game in the special world, I wouldn't even let myself beat the stage until I found a way to get all 3 of the special coins that was hidden in that stage, because I didn't want to have to replay the whole thing again. So I would just keep running through the stage. Oh, there it is, grab it. If I didn't get it, fuck it, kill myself. I'll just try again until I get all the special coins. And so once you get the majority of the special coins in the game, you can actually open up the final stage, which actually, again, just more difficult versions of the things you've already done. So it's not like any amazingly new world opens up during the special stages. It's just that they're really interesting, creative, and more difficult twists on the original 8 worlds. And here's why I think that they really did this. They realized that this is a game that's going to cross generations. You're going to have people like me who grew up with the original Super Mario Brothers who want a more challenging game and you want more gameplay. But they also realize there are kids that are going to have this game, and they don't want to necessarily replay the same stage 1,000 times. They don't care about getting every single special coin. They just want to run through the game once and beat it. And so the original 8 stages aren't necessarily that challenging. It's really when the special world opens up that you say, wow, okay, now I see the amount of content that's in this game and I see what they did there. Okay? So, once you reach a certain point in Special World, you actually save Luigi. Luigi's been kidnapped in one of these castles. And once you save Luigi, he now becomes a playable character. And you can actually play every stage of the game with Luigi as well. Luigi is a little bit slower than Mario, meaning when he tries to start walking, he's a little bit slower. If he's running, he tries to stop, he slides a little bit. So it's actually a little bit harder to control him, but at the same time, he jumps higher and he's more floaty. And what that means is for a lot of the harder stages that are platforming stages, Luigi is the better character to choose because it's a lot easier to beat those stages with him, okay? So once you go through the entire game, and you've beaten all the regular stages, you've gotten most of the special coins, you beat all of the special stages, you get a second ending, okay? You might think you're done with the game, but you're not. And I think a lot of people don't even know this. There is a hidden world that is extremely challenging, and it is a special tribute to people who put in the time and effort to earn it, okay? How do you get to it? Well, what you have to do, you have to find every special coin in the game on every stage. So there's 3 on every stage. You have to get every single one. You have to get that gold flag that I mentioned on every single stage. So every stage you beat, you have to get the 1-up, land at the top of the flag. You have to beat every stage of the game with Mario and Luigi. Whoa. So yeah, some of the stages that are easier with Mario or Luigi in particular, you have to beat every stage with both of them. So that is an added loop of difficulty in itself. Once you've done all of those things, okay, then you unlock a super secret special stage that is 100% platforming, so you can die instantly at any time and have to start completely over. There's no checkpoint in this stage. You're basically up against the odds. I mean, it's really fucking long and it's hard, okay? You have to kill 2 Koopa Kids at the same time. They make you face both Koopa Kids in the same room at the same time. Oh, and by the way, there's no power-ups on the stage, so whatever you go into the stage with is what you have to beat the stage with. There's flame traps, there's those little fucking fuzzy things that hurt you when you hit them. There's, like I said, the platforming that you control. You can accidentally make the platform go too far and you die. There's just so much in the stage to kill you. And then finally, at the end of the stage, you think you might have finally beaten it, and then the final screen where the flag is at the end of it is a switch. You press the switch and all of a sudden it unfolds all these tiles that say thank you. You're like, oh, okay. So you jump across the tiles, then you realize the tiles are going away. So now you have to rush across the word in order to do it before all the tiles go away. Come to find out, there's actually a platform you can just stand on, and it moves you across the whole sequence. You don't even have to do it. So it's actually a lot easier than it looks. But it is a super secret stage. You have to do 100% completion of the game to get to it. And then I actually beat it with both Mario and Luigi, so I could say that I really did everything in the game, okay? So what I can say about the game is this. First of all, it's fun as hell. It's classic Mario gameplay with a 3D twist. I really enjoyed playing modern versions of classic stages. Like I said, the airship was a throwback to Super Mario 3. The Bowser stages are throwbacks to the castle stages of Mario 1. And there's a lot of aspects taken from those games that are definitely thrown into the charm and the gameplay of this game. The fact that it's for 2 completely different audiences, the more casual kid audience versus people who are more hardcore and want more gameplay and more challenge out of their game, it's going to appeal to both audiences, okay? The only complaint that I have about the game, and this is me, and you might say this is a nitpick, okay, but I grew up during the classic Mario era. So I was there as a kid playing Mario 1, 2, 3. Super Mario World was a huge game, one of my favorite games of all time, okay? And in those games, when you're controlling Mario, okay, and I think maybe I can actually show you what I mean by holding my 3DS. When you're controlling Mario in those games, it's only 2 buttons to control him. One button either throws your projectile, makes you hover in the air, does whatever. It's the action button. The other button is the jump button, okay? And so this is really simple gameplay. If you wanted to make Mario run fast, you would hold down the action button and then you would jump, okay? And what would happen is Mario would run really fast when you held down the button, and he would jump a super far distance, okay? In this game, they've changed that. And that's frustrating me because that's been existing in almost every Mario game ever. I think actually in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, they took it out too. But it was so confusing to me because basically you can never really make Mario run very fast. He's running at kind of the same speed whether you hold the button or not, okay? And to me, I felt like almost like when Mario jumped, he was kind of floaty. Again, I'm going to reference New Super Mario Bros. Wii. He feels the same way in that game. Like, he jumps high and kind of hovers a little bit before he lands, and it's not like he goes whoop, 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 whoop like that in the air like he does in other Mario games, but it just seems like he stays up there a long time. Almost like, what is there, low gravity on the Mushroom Kingdom? And so for me, the jumping took a while to get used to, because it just seemed a little bit weird. It doesn't feel like that solid Super Mario Brothers. You can hold down the run button and rush through an entire stage and jump, and the pressure of the button that you're pushing is making you jump higher or lower, do little jumps, high jumps, or super high jumps if you hold down the button. And you can just dash right through the stage and you feel like you have complete control at all times. In this game, the control doesn't feel that spot on. I think number one, because Mario can't really run. Number two, like I said, because the jumps are kind of floaty, so sometimes it's hard to judge where he's going to land. But number three, another thing I want to mention, this thumbstick, I don't really like it. I think that the thumbstick on something like the PS Vita is a better thumbstick. It's a more traditional thumbstick, and you can really aim the direction of where you're trying to go and move. This thumbstick, if anything, okay, it feels kind of chunky, where it doesn't feel like you can fully define the amount of movement that you want to move in a certain direction. I'll be honest with you, there are times in this game when you're in a 3D perspective, so keep in mind, if it's 3D, you can jump anywhere you want. You can jump straight away from the camera, you can jump towards the camera, you can jump at a slight angle. So there were times when there'd be a platform that was maybe at an angle, not right in front of me, but to the front, to the left, and I would try to do it, and I swear to God, I'd try to be holding up left, and he would jump more straight than left, and I would miss the platform. And I'd be like, that's really annoying. Like, I really wish that the thumbstick was more precise control so I could really aim my jumps better. And there were a lot of parts of the game where I died instantly falling off platforms because I didn't feel that this 3DS has enough precision and control like a regular gamepad or even a different style of thumbstick. Whoever designed this thumbstick, I don't think it works for most, I don't want to say for most games, but at least for this game, it worked for about 90, maybe, I'd say 85% of the time, but about 15% of the time during some of the platforming and the jumps, it was a little bit difficult to control exactly where you wanted to go. And that's frustrating again, because coming from that original Super Mario Bros. Era when it was only 2D, you could really hone in and practice your skills, and you would know exactly where your jumps were going to land at all times, and it doesn't feel like you can actually do that in this game because the controls don't seem as precise. So that may be a nitpick, but I think it's still worth saying. Outside of that, it's a pretty classic Mario game. It's fun. It's got a hell of a lot of gameplay. Again, if you're going to go back and get all the stuff like I did, you're going to get massive replayability out of this. I probably spent anywhere from 10 to 15 hours, I would say, probably going back and replaying the stages. Now, obviously, if you're a Mario master, it's probably going to be maybe 8 hours. But you still, for a Mario game, it's a lot of fucking content. Let's put it that way. It's really damn good. So, Super Mario 3D Land, it appeals to young audiences and people who don't want a lot of challenge. It appeals to people who want replayability and challenge. A lot of classic Mario gameplay and not a lot of new Mario gameplay. The 3D looks excellent on this game. In fact, and keep in mind that the 3D does kind of mess with my eyes. I have a problem. I don't know what it is. I guess a lot of people have it where if you watch 3D movies, 3D anything, for an extended period of time, you can get headaches. Only once during the entire time that I played this game did I get a headache, okay? So that means that the 3D works pretty well 99% of the time, which is great. So yeah, for what it is, it's a great Mario game. Great fan service. Everything is there. And I say it's outstanding. The only complaint I really have is the controls don't seem as precise as I'd like them to be. There were a lot of times, especially the hardest stages. That final secret stage I told you about is a motherfucking bitch because the controls aren't really pinpoint on. They're not as good as previous Mario games, and I do have to fault the game for that. That is definitely a detriment where you really feel like you know exactly what you're doing and the game just won't control the way you want it. That is a little bit frustrating. But it's a great game, great value. I give Super Mario 3D Land an 8.5 out of 10. That's right. This is actually one of the best games I've played in recent memory. It's really fucking good. And if you have a Nintendo 3DS, I'll tell you right now, this is your killer app if it comes to platforming. Everyone's going to want to play this game. This is like the must-buy game if you have the Nintendo 3DS. And is it a system seller? For some people it will be. Some people who love Mario, this is a system seller. So, great handheld experience. And I'm happy to now say that I own a 3DS and I actually played through a game with the 3D and I enjoyed the effects that it had on the game and it actually added to the quality of the game. Really good game. Okay? So that's it for the Hateful Truth video game review series this time around. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative and you know a lot more about Super Mario 3D Land, whether or not you want to get it and check it out. I definitely recommend it as a must-buy if you have a 3DS. And that's it. I will see you guys next time. Thanks.